Hello, my name is Vicki Prince and I'm the Senior Vice President for West Coast Operations. Today I'd like to talk to you about generating new patients for your practice. Now there's a lot that I can go into on this subject, but today we're just going to talk about 4 different points to help you improve your new patient numbers. So the first point that we're going to discuss is keeping a new patient call log at the front desk. What can often happen in a practice is you spend quite a bit of money on marketing dollars and generate very few new patients, and you think, gosh, the marketing isn't working. What can happen is that those patients that are calling in are actually not being recorded as a new patient reach, so you have no idea that they existed, and then think that your marketing isn't working when really the problem is at the front desk. So this is one thing that I like to implement right at the beginning, is having a log of every single new patient reach that comes in. So you want to keep a log that will record their name, their phone number, how they heard about you, and what it is that they need from the office, as well as whether or not they scheduled. So you can call back anybody who hadn't scheduled. Also, this gives you a really good idea of what marketing is working versus what marketing may not be working as well, since you'll have a record of all of the different reaches from each source. And lastly, you'll be able to determine what your conversion rate is for those new reaches into the office. Ideally, your conversion rate would be between 80% and 100%. In the office that I managed, our conversion rate was 98%. And so anytime it dipped below that, I knew that there was something off as far as our scheduling was concerned. So the second point is actually drilling your front desk on how to convert new patients. Now that you're tracking it and you're heading for 80 to 100% as far as your target of conversion, in order to achieve that, you actually need to drill your front desk on how to properly answer the phone, how to handle new patient calls, whether they're shoppers or they're calling in specifically for, let's say, a crown or a cleaning, etc. Your staff need to know how to properly handle those different types of calls. Sometimes what will happen is your front desk will get a new patient call, and while they're handling another patient walking to reception or somebody having to check out, they may hurriedly answer that phone call and try to get that person off of the phone, which is not what you want, right? So what that will result in is either they don't get a phone number or they don't find out how the patient heard about you. And if the patient doesn't schedule, then it's no big deal to them. They can move right onto handling that patient that's sitting there in front of them. So it's important for your staff to have guidelines on how to handle the different types of calls that will be coming in, along with the different types of questions that new patients typically have. If you don't have guidelines within the practice, we do offer them on ddssuccess.com. So feel free to go there and sign up for online courses to get that data. Good. So now that you know that you should drill your staff, you should also know that anytime you see a dip in your conversion rate, you need to re-drill your staff. This was very common in the practice that I managed. Every time the percentage went below, let's say 95%, I knew that somebody on the front desk was not answering the phones based on the office policy and guidelines. So we simply just took out the guidelines and re-drilled them on perhaps a difficult new patient call that they had received and didn't know how to handle, so that in the future they could handle that type of call and the conversion rate went directly up again. All right, now the third point that I'd like to go over with you is on generating referrals. This is by far the cheapest way to generate new patients and one of the easiest ways. So what we want to do is look at your existing patient base who's coming in and find out what family members they have that are not yet your patients. So identify those patients, assign a staff member to ask that patient, let's say Susie, she's been coming to you for years, and she has a husband and 2 teenagers that are not yet patients of yours. So you're going to assign a target to your front desk to speak to Susie about her husband and about her 2 teenagers and getting them scheduled before she leaves for their dental appointments with you. Obviously, you definitely want to check and see whether or not her husband and children already go to a dentist. Luckily, in the States, 1 out of 3 people don't have a dentist. So chances are, when you ask Susie about her husband and teenagers, at least 1, if not 2 of those individuals will not have a dentist and will be able to be set up for an appointment within the practice. So generating internal referrals is a very easy way to generate new patients. And if you do just this action alone, you should be able to generate 3 to 5 new patients more per week within the practice. So definitely make sure you're identifying those patients and asking for the referrals. All right, and the last point is to create a caring and service-oriented practice. You want to make sure that when patients walk in the door, they're greeted warmly, they felt cared for, or they feel cared for, and that the staff are really on the same page with you as far as what your philosophy is in terms of treating your patients. You want fully healthy patients. You want your patients to know that's what your goal is, and you want your staff to know that that is your philosophy and that they're in agreement with creating an environment that generates that feeling. Showing your patients that you care, ensuring they don't wait, ensuring they understand why they need their treatment, and taking the time to really care about them will set you apart from other offices. And I can't recall a patient who told their friend about another office because they were just like everybody else. So do make sure to take some time and establish these points for your practice. So these are just a few points that you can do internally to generate new patients, but there's a lot more data that I'd like you to have from our new patient workshop. We'll give you different guidelines and tips to generate a marketing plan that doesn't break the bank and actually generates high quality new patients for your practice. We deliver the workshop in several places across the country. You can go to our website to get more information. That's my tip. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit subscribe.